Hi Aquarius, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your July 2023 tarot reading. Thank you to those of you who liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, it's the Celtic crossword as always, and I'll also pull the 4 agreements within the Oracle and Mudra card for you guys. But we're actually going to start the reading off by rolling off the astrology I said we have in front of us to get an idea of where folks should be as far as that goes. Alright, we have Mars. And Mars will be in Leo for the first couple weeks of July rather, and then it'll actually move into Virgo. So it'll be moving from your 7th house of partnerships, contracts, relationships into your 8th house of death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments. All right, we have Sagittarius. So astrologically speaking, there's not really anything going on there, but for you guys, Sagittarius represents your 11th house of friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes. I do see a Sagittarius card in your spread as well. And we have 8. So yeah, I was just mentioning earlier when we were talking about the movement of Mars, about what your 8th house is, and that's Virgo energy. And yeah, like I said, you guys will have Mars there. I think that's more or less it as far as what'll be in there for July, but that's what I see with that. All right, so moving on to the main spread. In the main situation position, we have the 8 of Swords, and challenging that, we have the 2 of Swords. So these are the 2 sword energies where we see blindfolds involved. So could just be saying that you guys are really stuck in your head around a decision that you feel like you need to make. And I feel like what this is saying is, for some of you, could be around romance, possibly creativity, maybe even children, given that Gemini energy for you guys is 5th house. But with this coming up in the challenge position there, I feel like this is saying that the main thing that's preventing you from moving forward is you're trying to look at it from so many different angles, and really trying to do what's best for all parties involved, which obviously is a good thing. But it just looks like it might have you at a point right now where you're just stuck. All right, in the foundation position, we have the 10 of Pentacles. So this is Virgo energy here, which we talked about coming up since you had the 8th house energy and the Mars energy come up with the dice. But seeing this in the foundation could just be saying that maybe you're thinking of like a long-term legacy, right? So maybe there's a short-term thing you could do that you'd like to do in the present, but you realize, oh, well, maybe this would actually hurt in the long run, right? So you could just be thinking about those types of things when you're in your current decision-making phase. So it could just be one of those things where you're making short-term sacrifices for a long-term benefit. All right, in the past position, we have the 2 of Wands. So Aries energy here. And this could just be saying that in the past, you might have been more action-oriented, right? Maybe you did tend to take a more explorative, assertive stance when it came to decision-making versus the opposite of that now that we see, which is the 2 of Swords. So for some of you, it could be an indicator that maybe that approach in the past might have gotten you burned, right? So maybe that's why you're more hesitant to take that energy on again now. All right, in the present position, we have the 3 of Wands. So this is Aries energy here, and what I see with this though usually is this is referred to sometimes as the waiting for your ships to come in energy. So usually this energy represents someone who's put in a certain level of work, and now they're just waiting to see the rewards of that work come in. And maybe some of you realize that you might feel like, okay, I have put in the work, right? So maybe it's just a matter of waiting for those rewards. So that could be what's keeping you a bit stagnant right now too, right? Because you're like, okay, I know I've already put in the work, right? Maybe I'm not seeing the results of that in the external just yet, but I have to trust that I will eventually, right? All right, in the near future position, we have the Ace of Wands. So this looks like an indicator that you will receive a spark in the near future. Something will come back to you. So maybe you'll get an idea of possibly wanting to be a bit more proactive, right? And possibly figuring out that balance too, right? Like, okay, knowing when to take action and knowing when to be more passive and receptive. So that could be a balance that you're trying to strike right now. All right, the position of your influence in a situation, we have the Nine of Swords. So yeah, like I said, it looks like you're really just thinking things through a lot. Like I said, I feel like there's definitely good intentions behind the overthinking that you're doing right now, but obviously we could see it's taking its toll, unfortunately, on you, right? So that could be the push-pull dynamic going on there. At the time of recording this, we do have Gemini moving, or rather Mercury moving through Gemini, so that could just have your mind buzzing too with a lot of ideas, right? And maybe there's some good ones in there, but again, you might just realize, okay, it's not practical for me to take all these things on. So it could just be a matter of you trying to narrow those things down and figure out which one's the most important and go from there. All right, in the environment position, we have the Knight of Wands. So this is Sagittarius energy here, which we also did see come up in your dice. So it could just be saying maybe there's someone in your environment who is a lot more action oriented, right? And in a way, it might almost give you anxiety, right? Because you're like, okay, so let's say this is a business partner, right? Or a romantic partner, you name it. But they might be a bit more reckless, right? So you might feel like, okay, well, now knowing that, the burden is on me to be the more responsible one, right? Because like, okay, I know I can't depend on them to do it, so I'm going to have to be the one to take that on, right? And it could just be causing a little bit of stress. Now, for somebody in a more positive sense, this could be someone who might inspire you, right? Where you're like, wow, I wish I could take the actions the way that this person does, right? Just really throw myself head first into things. But for some of you, I feel like it's more of the latter, though, where you're like, okay, someone in the environment's not necessarily going to take on a certain level of responsibility, so I'll be doing that. But like I said, it looks like it's burdening you a little bit at this time. All right, in the hopes or fears position, we have the Four of Wands. I'm going to assume this is a hope for most of you, right? More Aries energy here. So yeah, I feel like this is saying you're just hoping for that stability, right? And of course, if this is, like I said, some kind of a partnership where you and the other person's approaches are just so drastically different, like you could become to that realization, like, okay, we need to find a way to get a balance here, right? It can't always be on me to be a responsible one and this one to do all the risk taking, right? So could just be trying to figure out if you could rein that in, or possibly if you'd have to realize that that's just a dynamic you're in and possibly look elsewhere for a better match. All right, and in the outcome position, we have the Eight of Cups. So this is actually a Pisces energy here. It usually represents an energy of leaving something behind in order to seek something more fulfilling. So Pisces energy for you guys is second house, so finances and possession, self-worth. So for some of you, if this is a financially motivated thing, it could just be pointing to that, right? Where you're like, okay, maybe what I've been doing to this point just isn't going to help me get to the next level I'd like to get to, right? So like I said, where the word that comes to mind with the Ten of Pentacles in this particular spread for me is legacy, right? So you're not just thinking of, oh, this is what I'm going to do to pay the bills today. I feel like some of you might be thinking of, oh, and I want to be able to leave something behind for my children, right? Things along those lines. You could just be putting a lot of weight on your decision making around this time. All right, bottom of the deck, we have the King of Wands. So yeah, this could represent your energy for some of you, where maybe you're setting high goals for yourselves, right? So, whether it be furthering education, right, or getting certifications, things along those lines to elevate your position. And this could also just be pointing to all of the energy that's going to be in Leo. You're going to have the Venus retrograde there. Mars, like I said, will be there for the first couple weeks. Mercury will be there at a certain point. You're going to have the Sun there toward the end of the month. So there's going to be a lot of energy in Leo, which is the opposite sign. So you might feel like within your dynamics with others, you're seeing a lot of like a push-pull type dynamic, and possibly even feeling like they might have more of the power in the situation too, just because there's so much weight in that area for July. All right, moving on to your Four Agreements card, we have Always Do Your Best, and it says Express Your Own Divinity. Okay, it says you don't need the acceptance of others. You don't need knowledge or great philosophical concepts. You have the right to be you, and you express your own divinity by being alive and by loving yourself and others. So definitely an interesting message there, especially if for some reason, like let's say if you guys are being hard on yourselves, right? Like it definitely looks like there's overthinking at the very least. But if you guys are just being harsh and judgmental toward yourselves, hopefully that message resonated. All right, moving on to your Wisdom Oracle card, we have By the Book. There's the artwork, and the number is 11. Okay, central meanings says abiding by social rules, conformity, respecting cultural or family customs, universal laws. The Oracle's message: the universe works within the structure of divine laws and principles that provides a framework for human experience and evolution. The law of abundance, the law of prayer, the law of karma, the law of attraction, the law of thought, the law of compensation, and the law of nature are only a few that are known. These principles create perfect order and operate with a kind of precision beyond human understanding. Even revolution has its place in universal law. Human beings, in turn, have their own laws and customs that vary from culture to culture and family to family. Laws keep social order and govern behavior, reflecting an instinctive understanding that harmony is important. This is a time to learn these laws and conform to them, rather than being the rebel and flouting them. When this card appears, submit to structure and follow the rules, even if they seem to make no sense. Release resistance, for universal laws will correct any disharmony. Open your eyes to those universal laws, and it will be easier to go by the book at this time. See, interesting, right? For one, that seems like a bit of a polar opposite to the traditional Aquarius archetype, for one, right? And then it also seems to be a bit of an opposite to the first message we read there, too, right? And quite frankly, looking at the cards, that could be what you're feeling, right? You're feeling the push-pull of both sides there. The relationship message says getting along with others entails understanding and respecting who they have become as a result of their environment, culture, and experience. Find a middle ground that allows the relationship to flourish while honoring the individuality of the other person. Play things by the book instead of trying to break the rules or pressure others to conform to the way you want to do them. Your connection will deepen as a result. So yeah, like I said, when we were talking about the potential for this to be a relationship dynamic, right? This could be pointed to what we were saying there, where maybe you feel like the other person in the connection is more of a risk taker, right? Maybe a little less reliable in certain ways too, where you feel like you're always the one trying to be the responsible one within the connection. So if that's the case, hopefully that message resonated as well. And the prosperity message says at this time you can expect a return on your investment. Whatever you have pursued, be it a dream you've long cherished, a skill you've cultivated, or a service you're called to, will come to you if you are willing to go by the book. You don't need to reinvent the wheel to be successful. Follow in the footsteps of others who have already achieved the things you're striving for. You can learn a lot by observing the structures that are already working. Your creative projects and commitment to prosperity are in alignment with the needs of the world, but impatience may tempt you to cut corners to get there more quickly. Stick with what you know works, and you will attract abundance. So, yeah, definitely a positive, supportive message there. The part about expecting a return on your investment, that makes me think of the Three of Wands energy that we were talking about, right? Where, like I said, maybe you're not seeing the evidence of your work being rewarded on the external, but it could just be saying that part of you trying to hold on to that faith that, you know what, but I know eventually it will come, and that message seems to support that. All right, lastly we have a Mudra card. This is your Mudra here. It's the Mudgara Mudra, and the keyword for it is loyalty. Let's see if we get that to focus. There we go. Alright, so there's the info. If you want to pause it or take a screenshot to read what it has to say. But on the benefits, it says increases courage, virtue, and loyalty, stimulates the immune system, activates the body's self-healing power, and according to yoga tradition, facilitates the healing of major diseases such as cancer. So if that sounds like a mudra you think would be beneficial for you guys, I'll put the name in the description below as always. We'll wrap up there. I'll see you guys next month. Alright, bye.